Nigeria as a free state in 20th century Africa is the need to revive the stature of man in Africa and restore the dignity of man in the world. Nigerians believe passionately in the fundamental human rights. We regard all races of the human family as equal. Under no circumstance shall we accept the idea that the black race is inferior to any other race.
1960, Nigerian independence.
Were on film in black and white.
The Nigerian Civil War, a brutal and transformative conflict lasting from 1967 to 1970, remains a pivotal event in the history of Nigeria and African continent. This devastating war pitted the federal government of Nigeria against the secessionist state of Biafra, a republic representing the nationalist aspirants of the Igbo people who felt increasingly marginalized and unsafe with the Nigerian Federation. The conflict roots were deeply embedded in a complex interplay of political, economic, ethnic, cultural, and religious that predated Nigeria's independence from the British colonial rule. This report aims to provide a detailed and accurate account of the complex underlying causes that led to the outbreak of this tragic war, exploring the historical context, socio-political dynamics, economic factors, and key events that culminate in the conflict.
Sultry afternoon.
Nigeria's journey to civil war was paved by a complex history marked by the amalgamation of Nigeria, which took place in 1914 by Sir Frederick Lugard. Amalgamation of diverse pre-colonial entities under the British rule and the subsequent challenges of forging a unified national identity in the post-independence era. Prior to the British colonization, the geographical area now known as Nigeria was a mosaic of independent kingdoms and empires, each with its own system of government and cultural heritage. Notable among these were the Benin Empire, the Kanem-Borno Empire, the Sokoto Caliphate, and the Oyo Empire. In the north, the Hausa state has developed under the influence of Islam, while the southwest was dominated by the Yoruba kingdom of Oyo. The Igbo people in the southeast, in contrast, traditionally lived in more decentralized and non-hierarchical communities. These independent polities engage in trade and at times conflict with one another, establishing history of diverse and often competing interests before the imposition of the colonial rule. The advent of British colonialism in the 19th and early 20th century marked a turning point in the region's history, driven by economic interests, particularly the trade in palm oil. The British gradually established control over various parts of the territory. For administrative convenience and economic reasons, the British amalgamated the northern and southern protectorates along with Lagos colony into a single entity known as Nigeria in 1914. This unification, while creating the geographical boundaries of modern Nigeria, was primarily driven by the need to offset Northern Protectorate's budget deficit with the surpluses from the south. The amalgamation brought together disparate groups with distinct histories, culture, and religions under the unified colonial administration, laying the groundwork for future internal tension. The British system of indirect rule, which governed through local traditional leaders, was applied unevenly across the region, favoring the north and contributing regional disparities and resentments. This shared experience of colonial subjugation, however, also fostered a sense of nascent nationalism among the diverse population.
Society of Nigerian life. The job of holding the country together falls on four men. The Sardana of Sokoto.
Nigeria achieved independence from the British colonial rule on 1st October 1960, ushering in the era of the First Republic in 1963. The newly independent nation adopted a federal system of government in a parliamentary structure, comprising the three major regions, the north, east, and west, each with a significant degree of autonomy. In 1963, a fourth region, the Midwest, was created from the Western region. The first Prime Minister, Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, was a northerner from the Northern People's Congress (NPC), which formed a coalition government with the National Council of Nigeria and Cameroon (NCNC), led by Nnamdi Azikiwe, who became the Governor General and later President. The Action Group (AG), primarily representing the Yoruba of the West, formed the opposition. Despite the initial euphoria of independence, the underlying structural issues inherited from colonialism, including regional disparities and economic competition, persisted and began to manifest in political landscape. The concentration of political power in the hands of the northern elites in the post-independence period became a significant source of contention for the southern region. The early years of the First Republic were characterized by the emergence of the regional political parties that largely aligned with the dominant ethnic groups in each region. The MPC represented the interests of the Hausa Fulanis in the north. The NCNC initially drew its support primarily from the Igbos in the east, while the AG was the main political force in the Yoruba-dominated west. This regionalization of political parties underscored the absence of a strong, unifying national political identity and meant that the political competition often took on the ethnic dimension, which each party primarily focused on advancing the interests of its own region. This structure made it challenging to achieve national consensus on key issues and contribution to political instability. Even in the formation of the initial coalition government between the MPC and the NCNC, the underlying regional interests remained prominent. These early signs of region stress include ethnic competition, educational inequality, with the South having higher literacy rates and more access to Western education, and economic imbalance were evident from the outset of the independence. Electoral conflicts over political spoils in the 1950s further indicated the deep-seated regional tension. The competition of limited resources and political power fueled by these existing inequalities fostered suspicion and resentment among different regions, creating a volatile environment for the young nation.